At 2:13 a.m., a string of humming drones crossed into Russian airspace and slammed into one of the country's largest oil hubs. Flames lit the night sky for miles, train lines stopped, and Moscow's fuel supply chain staggered. By morning, the world was asking, how did a small, home-built drone turn into a weapon that can threaten a major refinery? The night was ordinary, until it wasn't. Residents near Volgograd woke to a distant thunder that wasn't thunder at all, but the low, mechanical buzz of incoming unmanned aircraft. Surveillance cameras and hurried telegram videos captured orange tongues of flame licking concrete and steel at Russia's Lukoil-linked refinery. Critical infrastructure that processes millions of tons of crude each year. Within hours, Ukrainian military channels had confirmed what locals and footage suggested. Long-range drones had struck the complex. The attack was another step in a months-long campaign focused on crippling fuel supplies that support Russian operations. Why does it matter? Because an oil refinery isn't just an industrial landmark. It's a pulse point of modern war. Disrupt the flows of fuel, and you disrupt trucks, tanks, air operations, and strategic mobility. For both sides, the calculus is immediate. Deny the opponent fuel, raise logistical costs, and gain tactical breathing space on the front. Kyiv's strategy, increasingly visible over the last year, has been to target refining and storage hubs beyond immediate front lines, stretching Russian air defenses and forcing Moscow to respond on multiple, dispersed threat axes. A refinery fire can be the first visible sign of strategic strangulation. We loop back to that image. A refinery plume seen from kilometers away becomes the emblem of a new battlefield, one where cheap, adaptable drones reach deep into enemy territory, and industrial columns become frontline targets. This wasn't an isolated flash. In early 2025, a series of overnight strikes saw long-range Ukrainian drones striking large refineries and facilities in Volgograd and elsewhere. At times, Russian authorities reported dozens, even hundreds of drones intercepted, while other sources showed fires and damage to critical units. Industry insiders subsequently reported operational suspensions at some plants, and rail loadings and certain distillation units were taken offline after fires or suspected damage. That pattern transformed news headlines into an emerging reality on the ground. Ukraine had built a credible capacity to reach and meaningfully damage Russia's refining backbone. Intercepted, but not all stopped. Russian statements often emphasize they shot down dozens of UAVs, but even a fraction getting through can hit storage tanks, loading racks, or a hydrotreater, components that, if damaged, cascade into weeks of reduced throughput. That asymmetry is at the core of the story. Expense, complexity, and time favor defenders for some targets, but drones compress that balance by making precision disruption affordable. January through February 2025, waves of drone strikes hit Volgograd refinery facilities and other southern energy nodes. Russian air defenses report mass interceptions, while fires are reported and some refining activity is suspended. September 7, 2025. Ukrainian forces claim a strike on the Ilsky oil refinery in Krasnodar Krai and on pipeline control infrastructure, indicating an extended campaign into southern Russia. October 23, 2025. Reported drone strikes on Ryazan refinery sparked fires, and according to industry sources, production and loading were suspended at key units, indicating operational loss beyond a simple blaze. November 2025. Continuing incidents and claims of strikes on Volgograd and other targets kept the pressure on Russian energy logistics. From nighttime raids to systemic pressure, the timeline shows evolution from opportunistic hits to a campaign targeting the nodes that actually move fuel, refineries, loading racks, and pipeline control stations, turning episodic violence into strategic attrition. A refinery consists of discrete, interdependent units, crude distillation towers, hydrotreaters, catalytic reformers, storage tanks, and rail or ship loading racks. When a drone hits a storage tank or loading system, the immediate visual is cinematic: fire, billowing smoke, emergency crews. But the less visible effect is the chain reaction in operations. A damaged hydrotreater means lower grade output and more downstream stress. A broken rail loading arm halts deliveries to airports, depots, and military units. Rebuilding or safely bringing units back online can take days to weeks, sometimes months if critical catalysts or heat exchangers are ruined. Those logistical delays show up as shortages, price spikes, and rerouting of limited fuel supplies to priority users, often the military. Interlinked human stories appear too. Refinery workers, firefighters moving into risk, towns downwind experiencing ash and smoke, and the supply chain workers facing uncertain wages as operations pause. The strategic and the personal intersect when a factory that fed a town's jobs and a nation's tanks becomes a contested object. These drones aren't the single-use toys of early conflicts. Many are commercially available airframes, upgraded with longer range, improved navigation, and shaped explosive payloads or terminal guidance. The art is in massing them, saturating air defenses, and then getting a few through to complex, high-value nodes. Kiev's forces demonstrated increasing range, coordination, and target selection, often tracking vulnerabilities like storage-heavy sites or units that are difficult to defend because of their size and layout. On the defensive side, Russia's layered air defenses, radars, interceptors, electronic warfare, can blunt attack volumes, but cannot guarantee perfection when adversaries innovate tactics or exploit timing. Small, cheap, and surprisingly effective. This is the narrative's running theme. Drones level the playing field in a way that incentivizes continued pressure. The cost of mounting a strike is a fraction of the economic and operational loss inflicted on a large refinery. When a refinery the size of Ryazan or Volgograd is impacted, the immediate economic signals are local: halted rail shipments, delayed refinery output. But because those refineries feed regional fuel markets and some pipeline or rail corridors to Moscow, ripples propagate. Airports may ration jet fuel, truckers pay more, and the state may divert strategic reserves to military use. International oil markets watch these strikes too. Dispatches report temporary price blips when big units are offline or loading is halted. The broader point? A theater of war becomes an energy story, and energy stories shape public perception, policy decisions, and diplomatic pressure. If you're finding this breakdown useful and want more frontline explainers like this, concise timelines, maps, and the real-world implications, smash that like button and subscribe. I post deep dives like this every week to help you cut through the noise. What this means for the conflict going forward. Targeting refineries buys time and pressure, not immediate victory. Ukraine's campaign signals a willingness to extend the battlefield and to degrade the infrastructure that props up military operations. Russia will respond with more air defense deployments, hardened storage, and relocation of critical processes. But hardening everything is expensive and slow. In parallel, civilian consequences, domestic price rises, and occasional service disruptions will test Russian domestic political resilience. The battlefield now includes the industrial map. Readers and viewers should now see a picture where the lines of control are not only front lines on a map, but also pipelines, rail links, and refinery coordinates. And whoever controls or denies those nodes gains operational leverage. A crucial note for viewers: claims from either side are often politically freighted. Russia downplays some impacts. Ukraine highlights successes. Independent verification, satellite imagery, industry reporting, and cross-referenced eyewitness videos helps build a reliable picture. It often remains in the immediate aftermath. That's why we watch patterns. Repeated targeting of refineries, subsequent supply disruptions, and industry sources reporting equipment damage are more credible together than any single, isolated video. Remember that opening image, the night sky lit by refinery fire? That single frame captures a modern lesson. Asymmetric tools and adaptive tactics can reach into the heart of an opponent's energy system, producing effects far larger than the size of the attacking system. It's a reminder that in modern conflicts, the map of danger is as likely to include a storage tank in Volgograd as a checkpoint on a frontline road. The war will continue to evolve, and so will the ways both sides adapt. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. I break down events like this into short, visual explainers every week. Thanks for watching, stay curious, and I'll see you next time.